Buenos días en esta segunda jornada del Serca Digital Meeting de este año, lo que vosotros sabéis que sería como el congreso anual que estamos celebrando todos los años y que este año, por circunstancias del COVID, tenemos que celebrar de esta forma y con esta fórmula tan novedosa. En esta segunda apertura, segunda sesión plenaria, tenemos con nosotros, como no podía ser de otra forma, la presencia de Nexus, del grupo internacional que nos alberga y que nos ayuda a desarrollar todas las actividades que estamos desarrollando en todos los campos desde su creación en 2014, y para ello nadie mejor que su CEO, que su creador, que su concepto máximo, que su desarrollador primero, Gael Scrip, nuestro colega Gael, que es quien ha comandado todas sus acciones, no solo en este año de crisis, sino desde sus inicios, y que me gustaría, o a él también le encantaría participar y explicaros un poco cómo ha sido todo el desarrollo de este año en Nexus y cómo ha evolucionado en función de su globalidad, en función de su ámbito mundial, en función de su estrategia en Europa y, por supuesto, que en su relación con Serca y con ITAP en España y Portugal. Entonces, Gael, good morning, Gael. And my first question is easy and very general. Where does stand Nexus today? What do you think?
Thank you, Luis. Muchas gracias, and it's a real pleasure to be with you today. It's a real pleasure to attend this digital event, Serca Digital Meeting 2020. And indeed, I will try in the coming minutes to share with you where we are and to share with you where we're going. So more specifically on Nexus today, for the ones that have followed Nexus over the past years, you know, we are in our 7th year. So we are still, you know, a kind of a baby moving to a teenager in the aftermath. Now, this being said, it's a baby that has been growing quite fast. And in 2020, with all the humility that I have to reserve, you know, to ourselves, to the entire team and community, we have become nothing less than the largest automotive aftermarket community in the world. We're very proud of it, but I insist the humility is one of our values, and we're not going to insist too much on that leadership. A few numbers to summarize that. The size of Nexus at the end of this year will be around 28 billion. That's the consolidated sales of all our members around the world. We have 176 members, but those 176 members are covering 1,723 companies around the world. So we're getting close to 2,000 companies, which will probably reach at the end of next year. More importantly, our presence around the world in 138 countries. We have created 16 companies around the world to manage our business, and we are partnering today with 81 suppliers. So a large community that has been growing fast. But the reason, you know, for that fast expansion are primarily to be attributed to the progressive mindset of our community. You know, we are open-minded. We're ready to, I would say, engage in plenty of initiatives, and we are truly global. You know, the fact that we have presence in 138 countries makes Nexus the only truly global automotive alliance, aftermarket automotive alliance in the world, which has been, you know, the result of lots of traveling, lots of contacts, lots of developments around the world. But it has been the result also of building a very efficient, visionary team that proved to be extremely reactive as well in 2020 through the crisis. So in short, a company that was founded 7 years ago, that has been growing fast, that had, until now, I would say, the support, very great support of his shareholders, a fantastic team, and plenty of prospects ahead, which we will talk about in this meeting. In a nutshell, Nexus is an ITG. ITG means International Trading Group, but Nexus at the end is much more than an ITG. And we have created plenty of companies that are as many responses to what our members were expecting in this transformation of the aftermarket that is happening at the moment. And we consider ourselves as an ITG, of course, but we think that we are at the end much more than an ITG, and we are definitely proud of that status today.
Very good, Gael. It's clear. It's a scope that it's difficult to imagine, because be present in 138 countries is something that for me it's quite impressive, ¿no? Es muy grande pensar en una empresa como Nexus, donde cubre a tanta gente. 1.723 distribuidores no son poca cosa. Como nos ha dicho, tanto como 16 empresas propias y 138 países cubiertos, pues a nosotros quizá nos queda un poco, desde nuestro panorama diario, nos queda un poco lejos, pero es la realidad. En cuanto a proveedores, sí que me ha quedado el dato de que quizá tenemos que seguir esa línea, porque Gael ha dicho que Nexus trabaja con 81 proveedores, que son bastantes menos de los que trabajan en Serca, y por este motivo también decidimos acotar algún tipo de acciones en los que más nos apoyan. Dicho esto, Gael ha pronunciado una frase que me ha hecho pensar. Ha dicho que esto es fruto, esta situación que tiene Nexus, es fruto de mucho viaje, ¿no? Y muchos contactos a lo largo del mundo. Y esto es una cosa que este año nos está siendo difícil, porque todas las previsiones que teníamos en enero, cuando nos vimos en el fórum de Holanda, de Ámsterdam, de febrero, cambiaron muy rápidamente, y hemos visto también cómo internamente Nexus ha sabido variar el rumbo de sus proyectos en esta gran base de actividades, de nuevas historias, de nuevas ideas que nos está proponiendo a todos los asociados, ¿vale? Muy asentado en la filosofía que tiene Nexus, pero que ya tocan temas de taller, temas de camión, temas de venta online digital. So, Gael, please give us some light. You know that 2020 was, I told him past, but was an extreme challenging year. No, what did Nexus exactly do to go through this crisis, please?
Yes, you know, before I get to those details, you were talking about the viajes and the fact that, of course, putting a flag of Nexus in 138 countries is the result of lots of travel. You know, with our small team in 2019, we have been flying over 1 million of miles, of air miles. So imagine that the team is a very, I would say, it's a team that has been flying around the world a lot to establish those contacts, to develop those contacts, to cultivate the community, and that's part of our culture. So when in 2020 happened what happened, which nobody had predicted, you know, on the 31st of December, when we're all, you know, trying to go from one year to the other, we had not anticipated that this entire ecosystem would change. So for the Nexus team that was used to, you know, socialize a lot, to develop, to build enterprises around the world, we had definitely to adapt. And we had the chance, as you said, Luis, to organize our annual convention a few hours before the total lockdown in Europe. So this is something that we did in full safety. And by the way, nobody left this big event of 400 plus individuals with any, I would say, problem. So we had our convention before, but then for months and months, we had to live differently. And that's basically when I saw the team more than ever adapting to new circumstances. We have, at the end, I will talk about what we did, but we have at the end definitely extended the gap with our competitors. In 2020, we have welcomed over 100 new members in the Nexus community without any traveling. So you can imagine this is the result of lots of work in 2019, yes, but at the same time, we have digitalized enormously the relationship, and plenty of things that we would not have imagined that could be done in 2019, through digital contacts, have been achieved in 2020 with a different way of working. So the team fundamentally has adapted. We could have decided, like plenty of companies around the world, to restructure, to put the entire team for a kind of a break for a number of months. But after a few days of thoughts, I thought that the transformation that was happening in the aftermarket would accelerate in 2020, and that it was the right time for the team to work on projects and to be part of this transformation, to lead this transformation, and to be ready for 2021, 2022 with a stronger Nexus. And that's why we have focused probably 75% of our team, which is approximately 45 people, on projects from mid-March, until now. The entire team has been extremely focused on the transformation, on preparing a stronger Nexus for its members, its suppliers in 2021 onwards. I will give you a few examples. I would say that that will speak for itself. During this crisis, less cars have been sold. The car park will be aging, especially in Spain, and we'll get back to it. And it was our duty, to rationalize more efficiently the so-called private label, low mid-cost ranges that Nexus had provided among all under, the brand Drive Plus. We thought that the work that had been done until now was a good work, but in the circumstances that we go through, in the circumstances that we will go through in the coming years, it was important that our members around the world were equipped with the right ranges, quality under the brand Drive Plus. So what we have done is that we have increased our investments in our sourcing office in Shanghai. We have reinforced the team. We have opened a warehouse in Poland to ship in smaller quantities to our members in Europe. And all that has been made in a period of maximum 6 months. We have now a very strong Drive Plus brand, a very strong Drive Plus, product families, and this will definitely help our members to go through the times ahead with aging car parks. I'm not saying that we are going to shift our focus from brands to Drive Plus. I'm simply saying that we're going to make sure that the business that is being done by our members in this segment will be the best of all, and that our members will be equipped with the highest quality for the best price under the brand Drive Plus, with an excellent logistics, out of Poland for Europe, and we are building similar hubs for Drive Plus around the world. So this is something we have done, and that I would say has been the result of a very strong focus on project management by the team. At the same time, we have been working a lot on the garage. The aftermarket will transform itself, that's for sure. Is the garage going to disappear? Never. The garage is the last player in this long supply chain that will exist, that will develop, and that has a lot to do in the future. The thing is that the aftermarket is digitalizing, such as the overall society, and we have to equip the garage with the right tools, the right digital tools, to be the most efficient possible. So we have worked a lot on the digitalization of the garage environment. This is a project called Nexus Auto 2.0 that will show its first fruits in 2021. We want the Nexus Auto garages and any garage that is close to the Nexus community to be the best in class with the right tools, the right IT, the right digital tools, to be efficient in the aftermarket of tomorrow. Now, there's another aspect around project management is that, as I told you, Nexus is global. We are present in approximately 140 countries, but we are still a group that has emerged out of Europe. We have members in North America, we have members in Asia Pacific, we have suppliers that are American, suppliers that are Japanese, fine. But we thought that it was time to decentralize, the management of our suppliers, to get closer to the Japanese industry, to get much closer to the American industry. And during the COVID times in 2020, we have worked a lot with the Japanese to establish Nexus in Japan. We're going to have an office as from mid-November in Osaka, and this office will be responsible to promote the Japanese industry towards our members, to make the members of Serca, the Serca community in Spain, much closer to the Japanese industry. And we're going to do the same with the American industry. So the Japanese supplies will be managed out of Japan, of course, in coordination with Nexus in Geneva. But this will bring lots of benefits to the Serca community in Spain, because our contacts in Japan are certainly, I think, and I'm convinced, the best in the so-called international trading group ecosystem, with all the work that has been conducted in 2020. So to answer your question, Luis, it was a tough year, but I have to say, when you have a roadblock ahead of you, it's also something that is stimulating yourself to overachieve yourself. And that's fundamentally what we have done. We have been thinking for a while. We were under shock, like all of us in the aftermarket. We could have, as I told you, gone for a break, but I think this difficulty that has been ahead of us has stimulated an even stronger appetite of the Nexus team to become a leader and to lead the transformation that is happening in the aftermarket today, to be ready with a stronger Nexus when the crisis and the COVID chapter will be behind us.
Amazing response, Gael. And before I will take your words when you go down, let's say, to Serca. But let me note that in your speech, I noted some in the first part of the speech before talking about the project. I noted very, let's say, very suggestive words all the time. So I wrote, when we talk about the crisis, a gap against competitors, 100 new members, digitalization, restructuration, lead transformation, focusing new projects. So lo que quiero decir con esto es que en todos los speeches, en todas las charlas que nos transmite Gael como líder de este camino que nos facilitan a tomar para salir de este proceso del COVID este año, todo lo que nos genera Nexus son ideas de nuevos proyectos, nueva energía, nuevos caminos, y es un tema que yo no sé dónde estaría Serca ahora mismo sin el acompañamiento o sin la guía de Nexus. Realmente es una relación que se retroalimenta y que nos da muchísimo. No sé cómo puedo explicarlo más que como lo ha explicado ya Gael. pero me gustaría volver a, tal como he dicho, y acabar antes de que veamos el vídeo que vamos a ver dentro de un momento y que, vamos, por sí solo nos va a explicar un poco el alcance de todo lo que está haciendo este señor y este grupo. Me gustaría cogerte la voz y ya que has hablado de Serca y has hablado de proyectos tales como la marca blanca en el que Nexus por el que Nexus está apostando y en el que nosotros poco a poco vamos entrando, porque realmente el parque, como ya veremos mañana con la charla de Jipa, el parque se está envejeciendo y realmente hay que dotarse de medios para abarcar esa parte y entiendo que hay un porcentaje de la venta que debe ir a ese tipo de vehículo que no se nos puede escapar. Estamos hablando del proyecto de Nexus Auto, Nexus Track, de toda la parte de garaje, de digitalizar nuestro contacto con el garaje, que es un tema que sabéis que desde la red SPG Professional Plus y ahora con el lanzamiento de Nexus Auto tocamos muy bien y me gustaría ver, digamos, todos estos proyectos que nos ha puesto encima de la mesa. Me gustaría saber cómo podemos beneficiarnos en Serca y hablando de nuestros negocios de la labor que está haciendo Nexus. Gael, to simplify, you talk in your last speech and before going to the video, you talk about rationalization of projects. You talk about Drive Plus and workshop concepts. I would like to know how it benefits Serca, how it helps us to, by one side, build stronger connections with the Nexus Acto workshops, as this is the way, as the digitalization is the way of the garage in the future. And if you feel that for Serca, the Drive Plus, it's a real opportunity to grow in the future.
Yes, Chris, thank you. First, I think we have to be watching the reality of 2020 in Spain. We have already a number of figures, and those figures are a bit alarming, to be honest. The number of kilometers per vehicle has reduced by 21% average. That's an expectation in 2020. The business in general of the aftermarket, approximate numbers, but should reduce by 19% in 2020. So we have an enormous challenge at stake in Spain, which is probably, if you look at the big European countries, the most challenging market, for the coming, the short and the midterm. Okay, so I think in such circumstances, where companies have entered COVID, and some companies will not be at the end of the COVID chapter, they will not exist, they will disappear. Okay, and you have already examples in Spain of good companies, so-called good companies, that have disappeared or will disappear. So the situation is a challenge. When you have to deal with a challenge like that, I think you have to, as I mentioned, for Nexus Automotive International, you have to rethink, and you have to put yourself in a constant improvement type of mindset. Okay, there is a transformation already happening. In this transformation, Spain is being hit very severely by the COVID chapter. So our duty as manager, if we want to exist in 5 years, is that we have to go for constant improvement, for an active management of what is going to happen tomorrow, and not a passive one. A passive one will bring us to the end of the story, but we don't want the end of the story. We want to be there in 5 years for our employees, for our kids. We want to be there, and for that reason, we need to go for constant improvement. So, as I told you, the car park is going to age. Are you going to sell, fantastic OE clutch on a car that is going to be 18 years old? Probably not. Are you going to sell an OE brake pad on a car that is 17 years old? Probably not. So your entire product management is being affected by the transformation of the car park in Spain. And that's why we have, I would say, designed a very qualitative Marca Blanca Drive Plus for your benefit. You don't need to send your buyers to China. You don't need to spend too much time on it. We have done the work for you, and you can trust us. We have already 50 members in Europe that are active with Drive Plus, so there is no reason that this recipe would not work for Spain. And this will strengthen your company in this segment dedicated to older cars. I insist, I'm not saying that you have to resign from brands. No, we have to capitalize, we have to develop, we have to accelerate our growth with our friends, the manufacturers. But at the same time, we have to adapt to what the consumer is asking for with the aging car park, with good products, and not, I would say, bad products, with good products. So that's, I would say, an example. At the same time, as I told you, Serca has always been, I would say, best in class with SPG among all when it comes to managing workshops. But this is not finished. This needs constant improvement. When we are working on the digitalization of the workshop, I'm sure that this can benefit SPG, this can benefit the Nexus Auto network that the Serca team as well is developing. So here as well, if we have stronger workshops, we will even gain market shares on the vehicle manufacturers that have their own difficulties, that will probably decline as well, you know? So we have to win this battle. We have to be stronger at workshop level. And that's something that definitely for all your, I would say, customers will be a plus. If you bring to your customers, your garages, you know, constant improvement, new tools that will be needed in the future, they will definitely be loyal to you and they will make you a bigger supplier. Okay, so that's very, I would say, pragmatic. Now, when I'm talking about being closer to, you know, the Japanese, the Americans, you know, we have never finished the improvement of relationships with our suppliers. If Nexus is strong tomorrow with all the Japanese suppliers, you, as a Serca member, will benefit from it, and you will be stronger. You know, when a customer is asking for a Toyota, I would say, part, or is asking for a Hyundai part, we will be there as Nexus with all the work we have done in Asia Pacific to provide Luis and his team with the right partnerships, so you are stronger than your competitors in the Spanish market. Okay, so these are 3 examples, but the mindset is we have to move, we have to be proactive, we have the capacity in Serca to be agile enough to be on the forefront. We want to be on the forefront, and I think that Nexus will definitely help you on that. And that's the purpose of all the projects that we have been developing in 2020.
Many thanks, Gael. You know that we will follow you, and we really believe in your let's say your strategy. We believe in Nexus Auto. We believe in Drive Plus. We will follow you, y seguiremos las líneas que nos da Nexus en este caso, porque realmente pensamos igual, pensamos en que debemos dotarnos de herramientas para tocar de una manera moderna, de una manera digital, Nexus Auto, este tipo de coches de más de 15 años y para los cuales, como ha dicho Gael, un embrague premium o unos frenos de origen va a ser complicado que los monten. Entonces, me ha gustado, Gael, por cierto, que dijera que con esto vamos a ser más fuertes que nuestros competidores en España, cosa que es interesante porque el tema en España está un poco revuelto y no me gustaría entrar ahora, pero me ha hecho gracia que yo creo que ya somos más fuertes que la mayoría de nuestros competidores en España, pero porque realmente nosotros trabajamos en una línea que, como veis, tiene un camino y la mayoría de vosotros sigue, y nuestros competidores muchas veces no lo tienen tan claro. Dicho esto, y en base a este camino que Gael está digamos, labrando desde los principios, tenemos que reinventarnos. Tenemos que reinventarnos como lo ha hecho Nexus o como lo hace Nexus en proyectos nuevos, proyectos que nos den futuro y de eso ya sabéis que Nexus va bastante sobrado. Nos gustaría saber, Gael, we would like to know what are, in brief, your main strategic drivers for shaping this aftermarket landscape, please.
Yeah. So first, Luis, I didn't say it until now, but I think it's important to underline the fact that Serca has been part of the founders of this community. Serca has always been an extremely active supporter, contributor with the personal involvement of Luis. And, you know, Serca and Nexus, this is how I would summarize it. So we are on the same ship, we have the same mindset, we have the same agility, and we want to be on the forefront in the future. That's the appetite that we have at Nexus and the appetite that I would say we share with Luis and with the Serca, the entire Serca community. Okay. Now, when it comes to the future, you know, and the future starts tomorrow, we have two very strong, I would say, avenues that we are engaging in. First, the whole world is becoming more and more and more conscious that the fight against the climate change is not only a small detail that you work on when you have some time left. The fight against the climate change is a concern, and every citizen, every businessman has to be engaged. And there is no exception here for the aftermarket. So we have been engaging in a project that has no action for the moment, but that is trying to see how the aftermarket can become greener, how Nexus can support that. And we have the support of plenty of manufacturers here. We have brought together 6 weeks ago the leaders of the biggest OE manufacturers and some other companies around the table in Frankfurt to see how Nexus could be greener in the future and how we could help the aftermarket to become more green, you know. And what came out is that Nexus is going to stimulate the definition of what is a green product, what is a green service in a garage. How could we tomorrow on electronic catalogs such as TechDoc have a reference that says this product is green and this product is not green? So this is something that is very serious because we're working here for our kids, for the next generations. We have a duty as a huge industry to participate, you know, to this fight against the climate change. So, as I said, we have started to engage a process. We have contacted the federations, FIGFA, CLEPA in Europe, Autocare, ASA in USA, to make sure that they will do what they have to do. They represent the industries in the distribution side for FIGFA, in the manufacturing side for CLEPA. They have to do their work. And we have asked those federations by end of March to help us in defining for FIGFA what is a green service, what could be the specifications of a green service, and for CLEPA, what are the specifications of a green product. They committed to get back to us, and by end of March, we will bring back all those manufacturers that are partners of Nexus, key members of Nexus, to see based on the definition of what is a green product, what is a green service, what is TechDoc ready to do, how we could start, you know, to define an agenda, a very strong agenda for Nexus for a greener aftermarket. This agenda is not only, I would say, a defensive agenda. No, we think that the green wave that has started to appear in the aftermarket is also an opportunity. for us to do more business, to invent new businesses, to launch new activities. And that's fundamentally our mindset. Always, there is a roadblock. The fight against the climate change is not a funny thing. It's, I would say, something that is very serious, but at the end is a problem. And this problem should stimulate business opportunities. And I think that by next summer, we'll be back with a number of business opportunities for the Nexus community within this green challenge. What does it mean for you in Spain? Fairly simple. If tomorrow your garages are equipped with a response to the consumer that is looking for a green offer, you will be stronger than the others. If tomorrow Nexus is pushing TechDoc to have, you know, in the electronic catalog, a reference to what is green and what is not green, your garages will be stronger towards lots of consumers that are asking progressively, and that will be asking progressively, you know, if the service that you made in this garage is compliant with what we call the Paris commitment, you know. So we're doing this work for you. We want Nexus one more time to lead a transformation, this green revolution that is impacting the aftermarket seriously already. And this is one direction. The second direction that we see is the shift of what you have done for decades in the aftermarket, buying parts, selling parts, repairing cars, to a larger mobility service business. It is probably clear for you. You have seen your kids and your families, you know, potentially managing the service of their car on their mobile phone. There is a digitalization that is, of course, there already. But more than that, there is a larger mobility service ecosystem that is emerging that we don't want to leave to Google, to Microsoft, and to those type of companies. We are the guys that have been driving the aftermarket for years, and we think that we could be a significant player within the shift of aftermarket to mobility service. Give you an example. In Europe next year, mid-next year, a competitor of Tesla is going to develop a network of hubs that will sell the car, manage the warranty, service the car, etc., etc. This time, they have decided to develop their network, based on an independent aftermarket network. They are not planning to buy buildings to open dealerships. They will rely on the independent aftermarket, you know, to sell their cars and maintain their cars alive on the road. And they're looking for, you know, networks that are modern enough, shining enough, capable, you know, to give the right image and the right service to the cars that they're going to commercialize in Europe in the future. Those guys are in the mobility mindset, and they're looking for aftermarket players that have the mobility mindset as well. So there is a shift. We have created Mobilion, the fund that Nexus has created with a number of partners to identify startups that could provide us activities in this mobility service environment in the future. Mobilion has already made 3 investments. We are following this very closely with the board of directors of Nexus, watching, you know, what is happening in this startup ecosystem. This is going to help us in identifying what mobility services mean in the future. But more fundamentally, I would say that all of us in the Nexus community is progressively having this mindset, the aftermarket of yesterday, of our grandfathers and our fathers, which is putting a part on a shelf, shipping this part to a garage, helping the garage to service the car, will evolve to a larger mobility ecosystem. We want to be part of it, and that's the reason why we are curious at the moment, trying to respond any solicitation that we have from an electrical vehicle manufacturer that will launch its cars in Europe, to the startup ecosystem in Israel that we're looking very closely. I think the curiosity at the moment is what we're trying to stimulate, but soon we'll come with a plan at Nexus to be a leader in the transformation of the aftermarket from the pure aftermarket of yesterday and today, to a larger aftermarket tomorrow involved in a larger mobility service ecosystem. These are the two directions: a greener aftermarket on one side, a shift of the aftermarket to mobility services on the other side, that I insist we don't want to leave and to give and to hand over to Microsoft and Google tomorrow. We are the guys that know the aftermarket. We have to be leading this transformation, and we have not to be, let's say, manipulated by external players that will preempt our business slowly but surely through digitalization. We don't want that, but if we don't want that, we have to be active today.
Very, very interesting. This is a kind of questions that for example, I took many notes about your two line of landscapes. No, for example, the part of the green, we agree. We have already developed an own garage network or called Professional Plus One, going through this direction, and I agree with you, and with the mobility 100%, and it's very let's say very clear to see for our members. Lo que estamos diciendo es que las dos líneas que Gael nos ha comentado, sostenibilidad, la parte del verde, la parte de que está trabajando Nexus con las 6 líderes del aftermarket y las asociaciones federativas como CLEPA y FIGEFA, en darle un camino verde. ¿Qué significa ser verde? Me he quedado muy bien con el tema de TechDoc, ¿no? De cómo sabemos que una pieza se ha fabricado según esta filosofía interesante para el futuro, y la parte de movilidad que nos da un campo. O sea, lo que está claro, lo que ha dicho Gael, no tiene pérdida. Es decir, lo que ha sido durante muchos años coger la pieza de la estantería, llevarla a la furgoneta y repartirla, este proceso, si todo cambia, si nos está cambiando todo en el mundo, no vamos a estar yendo en coches voladores y cogiendo la pieza de la estantería, metiéndola en la furgoneta y llevándola. O sea, tiene que cambiar. La movilidad tiene que hacer cambiar los procesos de suministro, los procesos de viabilidad del sector. ¿Y quién mejor para hacer este cambio? ¿Quién mejor que los que estamos viviendo y mamándolo desde el primer día? ¿Quién mejor? ¿Qué va a venir? ¿Google? ¿Qué va a venir? ¿Apple a cambiarnos el sector? No, el sector lo tenemos que cambiar desde dentro, y para cambiarlo desde dentro hace falta que personas como Gael, que empresas como grupos como Nexus tengan estas iniciativas para salir airosos de la modernización de sistemas, y me parece que por sí solo es interesantísimo y vamos, que es el futuro, y por ahí trabajaremos también desde Serca. Y vamos a acabar porque me gustaría también después ver el vídeo de Gael, y lo dejaremos colgado en el stand de Nexus, pero antes de acabar, sí que me gustaría, Gael, primero agradecerte muchísimo que hayas estado con nosotros. Thank you very much, Gael, for being with us this morning. It's a pleasure for us to have you with us in this boat, in the Serca Spain and Serca Portugal projects. Es muy importante tenerte con nosotros. Y para acabar, me gustaría saber, o me gustaría que nos contaras un poquito cuáles son tus indicaciones para el año que viene. Es decir, what is your short-term vision? Let's say, what will happen? What do you think will happen? What we are going to do the next year to overcome the crisis?
So, first, I've taken away from the mind of my team that by next summer we will all be on the beach and that everything will be finished. I think it will be finished when it will be finished. It will be finished when indeed all those vaccinations promises that we have are effective. And for the moment, we are in this situation, and we have to live with it, you know. So I would say I'm not making any anticipation on that front. I simply think that, as I told you, we are living in a special time. Let's utilize this time to transform ourselves, to be stronger. For when, I don't know, but at least, you know, this is not going to happen forever. So once we are out, next summer, 2021, whenever, 2022, I don't know, but we have to work at the moment and to be leading the transformation. So that's, I would say, my mindset, because there are plenty of comments of people that say, you know, next summer is finished, you have to wait a little bit, and you know, etc. Let's wait for the reality. Once the reality is effective, then we will be, you know, having a glass of champagne, all of us, to say this chapter is behind us. Now, I think the most important lesson of this period until now, and I think you have all seen it. You have all seen how the digitalization has been accelerated. You know, we didn't even know the name Zoom, etc. On January 1st. We have, all of us, adapted, but thanks to what? Thanks to something that plenty of people think it's terrible, you know, but it's, at the end, it has helped all of us to survive in those difficult times. It's the digitalization. So I think without considering that the whole world will be digital in the future, I hope not. But at least it will be a hybrid world with a much stronger digital footprint, and the social and the reality, you know, on the other side. So I think as entrepreneurs, you all cannot neglect the fact that this digitalization is there. You have to invest time, resources, you know, on it. The future, the next future, will be super hyper digital. And as I would say, an aftermarket leader, you all have, I would say, to invest on it. So I would say the only certainty I have is that, you know, I'm not going to tell you that I'm sure that Nexus will be even stronger in the future. As I told you, we are humble, we are working hard. You've seen the results over the past 7 years. You have seen as well how Serca has developed itself as well in 7 years. At the same time, I remember Serca 7 years ago. I see Serca today. Same thing. Strong agility is helping companies to be on the forefront. Now, this is for sure. The last comment I would make is that, as I told you, the Spanish market has a challenge. Some companies will disappear. Some companies have already disappeared. There is a strong transformation of the, I would say, ecosystem in Spain. Probably, you know, consolidation will happen. Until now, it has been fairly difficult in Spain to consolidate, but it could be the case. We'll see. But Nexus will be there to support any of those projects, because clearly a larger scale in Spain will make you stronger. But that's a chapter for, I would say, the Serca leadership, and we will be there at any time for any direction that Serca will take, you know, to make Serca even stronger in the future from 2021 onwards. I'd like to thank you very much for your patience today. I would have loved to be with you, of course, in Spain, and I wish you all a fantastic digital meeting. And I thank once more Luis for, I would say, his kindness and his comments in this interview, and his leadership and his capacity he showed to bring Serca in the right direction with the board of Serca. Have a fantastic day today.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Gael. Thank you for your words. I hope you will be involved in our consolidation, let's say, future project, let's say. I hope so, inshallah, that we say.
Inshallah.
Digo que Serca va a sobrevivir muchos años, que si tenemos un proyecto de consolidación, espero que que Gael y Nexus estén inmersos en él y que muchas gracias, Gael, muchas gracias a todos y os deseo que tengáis una jornada muy, muy próspera de reuniones con los proveedores. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Adiós.